Good day everyone, I am Mariel Ilanggam, BSed English 2, the reporter of the topic Community Language Learning Method. So, Community Language Learning Method, or the CLL, was developed by Charles A. Curran and his associates in Chicago in 1955. He was a specialist in counseling and a professor of psychology in Loyola University, Chicago. His application of psychological counseling techniques to learning is known as counseling learning. So, community language learning represents the use of counseling learning to teach languages. So, introduction. Community language learning, or the CLL, advises teachers to take their students as a whole person. So, whole person learning means that teachers consider not only the intellect of the students, but also the students' feelings. No, so teachers become language counselors and give no threatening to the students. So, CLL, the CLL, or the Community Language Learning Method, one of the so-called designer methods. No? So, based on the methodological experimentation in 1970s, forms part of the humanistic approach to language learning. So, it emphasizes the learner's responsibility for their own learning. So, this method also give the students the sense of responsibility to learn language, no, to develop their sense of responsibility for their own learning. So, the founder figure was the Charles A. Curran and the American Jesuit priest. So, primarily designed for monolingual. So, conversation classes where the teacher, as the counselor, would be able to speak the learner's first language. And we have some unique features of the community learning method, or the CLL. So first, the students decide the topic. So the students are the ones to decide their topics. And second, the teacher will translate. So the teacher are the one to translate about the topics of the students that they picked. So the teacher are counselors, and of course the students here are the clients. And it is 100% safe, and learning is inductive. So how it works in the classroom. So how does the the community learning method works in the classroom setting? No, stage 1. We have some stages. So, stage 1, the reflection. So, in reflection, for example, we start with the students sitting in a circle around the tape recorder to create community atmosphere. So, the students think in silence about what they'd like to talk about. While the teacher will remain outside the circle. No? To avoid lack of ideas, students can brainstorm their ideas on the board before recording. So, before pang recording, so they are going to brainstorm some ideas. No? Reflection. Second one is the recorded conversation, the stage 2, the recorded conversation. So, once they have chosen a subject, the students tell the teacher in their first language, or their first language, what they'd like to say, and the teacher discreetly come up behind them and translate the language chunks into English. So diba, the teacher is the translator here in the community language learning method. So here, in the recorded conversation, the students will tell the teacher with their first language. So here comes the teacher. Us as an educator, we're going to translate those chosen subject or those ideas, no? So with higher levels, if the students feel comfortable enough, they can say some of it directly in English. So if there are some students are comfortable enough to speak in English, so they can also. So, and the teacher gives the full English sentence. When they feel ready to speak, the students record their sentences. So, no, sa stage 2 recorded conversation, the students are allowed to speak in English if they are comfortable, but the teacher will translate it into a full English sentence, and after that the students will speak the whole sentence, and it is recorded na. So they're working on pace and fluency. They immediately stop recording and then wait until another student wants to respond, no? This continues until a whole conversation has been recorded. No. So, the stage 3, which is the discussion. So, next, after the stage 2, we will come up to the stage of the discussion. So, next, the students discuss how they think the conversation went. No? They can discuss how they felt about talking to a microphone and whether they felt more comfortable speaking aloud than they might do normally. This part is not recorded. So, after recording their voices, recording their conversation, so in this stage, they are going to discuss about how they feel about that one and about that activity. So, in this part, this is not recorded. No? So, next, stage 4, which is the transcription. They listen to the tape and transcribe their conversation. So, the teacher only intervene when they ask for help. So, in this stage, the students are going to listen their tape, and if they have some questions, it is the time now that the teacher will intervene or answer some questions from the students. So the first few times you try this with a class, they might try and rely on you a lot, no? But aim to distance yourself from the whole process in terms of leading and push them to do it themselves. So, in this kind of activity, the students really rely on the teacher because of it is first time. So, the students will rely to the teacher a lot. So, if you are the teacher, you have to distance yourself. But, but you're still guiding them, no, until they are comfortable enough to do it themselves, no, kanang dili na kayo magsalig sa teacher. Okay, the stage 5 is the language analysis. So this involves looking at the form of tenses and vocabulary used and why certain ones were chosen. So but it will depend on the language produced by the students. Of course naman, the students may have different languages naman, no? So, the tenses and the form are will depend, no, according to the language used by the students. So, they are involved in the analysis process. The language is personalized, and with higher levels, they can decide what parts of their conversation they would like to analyze or discourse. So, with lower levels naman, you can guide the analysis by choosing the most common problems you noted in the recording stages or by using the final transcription. Okay, the student-teacher relationship. So, the teacher's role is a counselor and the student's role is a dependent or independent. So, their interaction is teacher-centered, teacher-student-centered. So, the teacher's part is first is in charge and provide direction. So the teacher are the ones who provide direction. And second, structure the class. And third, physically remove from the circle. So, di ba, ganina I mentioned that they're going to sit in a circle and there is a tape recorder in the one. So the teacher is not within that circle. So for the students part, first, be assertive to have conversation. You really need to have conversation. So the students really have to communicate with the other students. So second, take more and more responsibility. So the students here are the ones to develop more responsibility, no, to learn that language. And third, interact with each other. So the students were going to interact with their classmates or their co-students and communicate them. So for the teacher's role, the counselor's role or the teacher's role is to respond calmly and non-judgmentally. So as counselors, no, the teacher here is the counselor. So the teacher will respond to the students' questions or other mga clarifications of the students calmly and non-judgmentally. So you're not going to judge that certain student if they don't know how to speak English, if they're going to speak more to their first language. So you need to have this calm respond to those students. So in a supportive manner, and help the client try to understand his or her problems better by applying order and analysis to them. So no, as a teacher, you're going to support your students, not to discourage or to judge them of their mistakes. So with that approach, you're going to help that student. So you're a big help to your students to overcome those problems and to become good enough to that certain language, no, to develop in order for them to have this motivation. So there is also room for actual counseling and community learning, language learning. So explicit recognition is given to the psychological problems that may arise in the learning a second language, no. So another teacher's role. So the teacher monitors learners' utterances and providing assistance when requested. So the teacher are going to observe the students' utterances, no, and provide the teacher will provide assistance if the students are having a hard time speaking in English. So the teacher is the one to provide assistance in order on how to pronounce the word correctly, no. So next is the teacher's role is the initially likened to that of a nurturing parent. So here the teacher is like a parent. Now, of course naman, the teacher is our second parent. So in this method, this community language method, the teacher is likened to be a parent here. So the student gradually grows in ability and the nature of the relationship changes so that the teacher's position becomes somewhat dependent upon the learner. So the teacher is also responsible for providing a safe environment in which clients can learn and grow. So as a learner, as a teacher, no, we are the ones who are responsible to provide our students a safe learning environment in order for them, in order for the students to grow, to develop, to learn more and to have kanang safety environment for learning. So there are types of learning and teaching activities. So first is the translation. So learners The learners form a small circle. So, mao na to ganina. A learner whispers a message or meaning he or she wants to express. The teacher translates it into the target language and the learner repeats the teacher's translation. For example, no, there's a student will whisper those certain sentence with using their first language, and the teacher will translate it to the target language, which is the English language. No, that is called the translation. So the type of learning. So translation type of learning. So next is the group work. So learners may engage in various group tasks such as small group discussion of a topic. So preparing a conversation, preparing a summary of a topic for presentation to another group, preparing a story that will be presented to the teacher and the rest of the class. So this group work really really useful or very essential in learning a certain language, no? Because of this, the students will participate the group discussions, no? So it will lead them to develop or to acquire those target language. And next type of learning is the recording. So the students here will record conversations in the target language. So 'di ba? They're going to speak na if they are allowed to speak their first language, but if they are comfortable enough, no, they are allowed to speak in English even though they are not fluent or proficient enough to speak English language. So but in this type of learning, they are going to record their conversation and will listen afterwards. So next types of learning is the transcription. So students transcribe utterances and conversations they have recorded for practices and analysis of the linguistic forms. So after recording those conversations, the students now are going to transcribe their utterances and conversations if they have recorded for practice and analysis of the linguistic form. So next type of learning is the analysis. So here the students analyze and study transcriptions of target language sentences in order to focus on particular lexical usage or on the application of the grammatical rules. So in this type of learning, which is the analysis, the students here are going to analyze if where is kung asa dapit or asa na part ang naay mga mali. Especially the use of the grammar. So next is the reflection and observation. So learners reflect and report on their experiences of the class as a class or in groups. This usually consists of expression of feelings, sense of one another, reaction to silence, concern for something to say, etc. So this is the last part. In this type of learning, reflection and observation, so that students will express their feelings or experiences during the activity. No, they're going to speak it in front of the class and or in the group. No, so the students here are going to express what they feel during during the activity, how they find it interesting ba, or they are going if they have a hard time. So next is the listening. So the students listen to a monologue by the teacher involving elements they might have elicited or overheard in a class interaction. So the students were in this part, the students are now to listen the teacher diba, listen to their teacher. So, the last one is the free conversation. So, the students engage in a free conversation with the teacher or with another learner. So, this might include discussion of what they learned as well as their feelings and they had about how they learn. So, in this, they can speak to the teacher or to their students, no, about of how or what they feel during the activity and what they have learned to that from that activity. So the student's role, so it implies giving support to fellow learners and acting as a counselor for another student. So now the students' role to their co-students, they serve as a counselor na. So they're going to communicate with those students and give some having advices or give some ideas or brainstorming some ideas. So the students determine the content. So learners learn through interacting with members of the community and establish an interpersonal relationship. So the community language learning method or the CLL compares language learning to the stages of a human growth. So the stage 1, the learner is like an infant, no, so stage 1. So stage 2, the child achieves a measure of independence from the parent. So stage 3, the separate existence stage. So stage 4 may be considered a kind of adolescence. So in stage 5 is called the independent stage. So we have some in every approach or a method of acquiring language, there is advantages and disadvantages. So first we were going to talk about or discuss about the advantages of the CLL or the community language learning method. So first, the advantage is students' interest. So the students have their interest to acquire that certain or that target language, no. So the second, the student independence. So in this community language learning method, the students are independent. They are going to have this to develop this sense of responsibility to acquire or to learn the target language. Third, students learn inductive teaching. So, they are, and next, it is non-threatening. So, this, ba? Ang communicative language method, the teacher here is the counselor. So, they are going to respond calmly and non-judgmentally to the questions or the clarifications of the students. So, the students will, this is not threatening to the students because the teacher here is not they are not terror. They are calm towards their students. They are supportive towards their students. So next is the counselor allow the learners to determine type of conversation and to analyze the language inductively, and the student-centered nature of the method can provide extrinsic motivation, no. There is a two type of motivations, the intrinsic and the extrinsic motivation. So katong intrinsic motivation is the motivation comes from within, no, sa imo jud ang self gikan imo ang motivation to learn that certain or target language. So ang extrinsic motivation naman is it comes from the environment, your environment, no, mamotivate ka because of those other students, because of the teacher. So it can provide extrinsic motivation. So mao na siya ang ma-develop sa this is the advantages of the community language learning method. So if we have some advantages, we also have disadvantages. First, disadvantages: time wasted. Maybe the disadvantages, one of the disadvantages is time wasted, because we're going to spend a lot of time to have the activity, no? The teacher poor translator. So, disadvantage na po siya diri sa community language method if the teacher is not knowledgeable enough to translate those first language of the certain student. So, example, of course, no, we have a lot of students and they came from different kanang culture, their different kaning mga languages. So there are some Ilocano, Cebuano, mga Ilonggo, 'di ba? So if the teacher lack of knowledge about that certain language of the students, so that teacher will be having a hard time to translate that language into English. Although if the teacher is proficient and fluent enough in the English language, 'di ba? So there are some teacher naman, they are not proficient or fluent in English. So the teacher will be the poor translator. So disadvantage pud na siya. Next, students have mix of language. Mao na to siya kung na-mention bag-o lang na ang students have a mixed language. So it will lead to the teacher to a hard time to translate, no? Not enough time in school. So isa po na siya, no, kanang walay enough time to school, kanang mga student bitaw, especially the students came from the mountainous areas, so they don't have enough time to school. So risk can be good, and the counselor or the teacher can become too non-directive. Students often need directions. So the inductive learning method and translation is a difficult task. And for the conclusion, learning is persons, no? Learning is persons. Whole person language takes place best in a relationship of trust, support, and cooperation between teacher and the students, among the students, no? So in learning a language, we need, as a teacher, we need to have good relationship towards our students. We need them, we need to support them, not to judge them, no? So learning is dynamic and creative. So learning is a living and developmental process. So learning is really dynamic and creative. So as time goes by, the learning is dynamic. They change over time, and learning is an ending process. And thank you.